Crystal, do you love hiking?
Of course I love hiking.
You just got back from hiking, didn't you? We're going to hear about that soon.
Yes, in one of our national parks. It was my first time in Tucson, and I was at the Saguaro National Park. Everyone says it wrong. Yeah,
I like how now you're a pro. You've been there one time, and now you know the correct pronunciation.
I'm a pro on enunciating. It's not Saguaro, it's Saguaro, because that's what it looks like.
But it does look like Saguaro.
Yes.
How about hiking in Spain? Would that be good?
Yes, that would tickle my fancy.
on a pilgrimage. Well, Crystal, from beautiful countryside to old churches and meeting new friends, today we hear about the Camino de Santiago, called The Way, with our guest, my friend, the man behind Interview Valet, Tom Schwab.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear about it. And at the end of this episode and every episode, you'll hear our Gear of the Week pick. So if you're looking for best-in-class gear that's worth the price, head to our Amazon page at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day. You'll help the show and help yourself adventure better and for less money.
Ready for adventure? From vacation to staycation, and from the mountains to the beach. This is the Stacking Adventures podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stacking Adventures podcast. We head around the world. Every travel has a story. You have a story, so come join us to tell your story. But today we have an adventurer who, Crystal, went to Spain. Spain to me means wine. It means hiking between beautiful places, but this is a trip I've wanted to do for a long time, so I can't wait here. Do you know anybody who's done the Camino before?
No. But yeah, and Spain also says paella, right?
It does. I learned to make paella when I went to Spain.
Oh, I didn't learn. I learned here in Alexandria at Sola Tabla. No, how to make it. It was good. The sucrete is the essence of your.
I also need to learn to make a good sangria in Spain. But more than that, I learned how to drink wine, which is very important. You take your hand, you go like this. But today, to explain the Camino de Santiago with us, it's my friend from my hometown, the gentleman behind Interview Valet, Tom Schwab, is with us. How are you, man?
Joe and Crystal, I am thrilled to be here. And basically, you just summarized the Camino, right? You do some walking, you do some drinking, you do some eating, and then repeat.
Yes.
Can we leave right now?
Right.
Yeah, let's go. So how long, Tom? Well, first of all, the Camino. What to you is the attraction? How did you first hear about it? I first heard about it on a movie that stars Emilio Estevez and his dad, Martin Sheen. And the movie's called The Way. If anybody likes a cheesy family movie, this is a wonderful cheesy family movie called The Way. And that was the first I'd ever heard about it. When did you first hear about it?
It was the same movie, and it was
it really?
It was probably about a decade ago, and they've got the new one coming out. I think it's supposed to be out 2026. It's already filmed and everything, but it was like on our bucket list. And someday we're going to do this. Someday we're going to do this, and we finally pulled the trigger on it. We're so happy. Now it's like we're going to do it again, because people will say the Camino, but there's different ones. It's a pilgrimage back from the Middle Ages, and you basically hike to Santiago, where St. Andrew is supposedly buried, and there's all these different paths. So you can go through Portugal, you can go through Spain, all these different ones. And we took what's called the French route. And so you start up in the Pyrenees. It's the same one they did on the movie there. And it was almost surreal to walk by something and go, hey, that's the set from the movie.
Wow.
How much planning does this take? Because I would think that if you're going to hike that far for, I don't even know how long you went. We should probably ask you that, but it would seem to me that would take a lot of planning.
You would think so. And some people train for it. Some people plan for it. My wife's a big planner. One of my jokes is always planning is for those people that aren't smart enough to make it up as they go. So for me, it was more just going there. Right. And She did a whole lot more planning. It probably went better because of my bride, Karen. But we did 500 miles in 26 days. And to me, just making it up as we went was more magical. There were some people that had planned out every day, every route where they went. And to me, it was that magic of what was going to happen that day. What did we feel like? How far did we want to go on? So from that standpoint, I think it was more magical that way, of just experiencing it really as a pilgrim, and just walking, meeting people along the way, and knowing that we didn't have a set agenda.
What did you forget? Was there anything you wish you had that you didn't think of?
I wish I hadn't taken so much, right?
Ah.
So we both had packs, and they said keep their packs below 25 pounds. I think mine was like 24. And about a week in, I realized I don't need all of this stuff. And the more I walked, the more I realized lack of or simplicity makes me happy. For example, I packed 5 pairs of socks, right? And you're like, that seems fair. Well, there was 2 pairs that I really liked. And so those are the ones I wore, right? Every night, wash the socks and then hang them on my pack. And I'd have a fresh pair the next day. And there's a phrase that says the Camino will provide. And it was so true, right? Most of the time we think, well, we've got to control everything. We've got to know everything. There's people along the way that will help you. And so if you needed something, it always seemed that the right person at the right time would come up, and they didn't even have to speak your own language, but you could communicate just the same.
That's amazing. I had a similar experience at my last trip. I wore the same, and you guys don't think anything bad, but I wore the same 2 pair of pants the whole time. It was like a 5-day, and I was perfectly fine. I was like, why did I bring all this other crap?
Yeah, nobody smelled that. Chris, I was just doing the math. Tom and Karen walked 19 and a quarter miles per day. You averaged.
Wow.
19 and a quarter miles, Tom. That's a long, it's like you walked a marathon every day.
Pretty close. And, we had done a little bit of training on this. We live out in the country. And so we walked everywhere, right? It allows us to drink, right? Don't drink and drive. All right, we'll drink and walk. And then you don't feel as bad on the calories. But, a lot of people would get up in the morning, have breakfast, walk a little bit, and then stop at lunch. For us, it's like, well, we don't want to just stop at 1 o'clock, right? Let's keep going. So we would walk a little bit, then have breakfast, and then we'd walk a little bit and then have lunch, and then we'd walk a little bit and stop for a beer or wine, and then we'd walk a little bit more and go to wherever we could find a hotel. They call them albergues. It's like almost like a hostel, and they have dinner there. And for the better part of $20 a night, right? You can sleep there. You can have dinner there. You can have showers, places to wash your clothes and everything. And so it was just seemed normal. I can't say there was any day where it's like, when is this going to be over? No, we'd get there, take a shower, have some dinner, and keep talking with people. It was really magical.
You didn't plan which of the hostels you were going to stay at ahead of time.
Most of the time that morning, we would think, how far do we want to go? And, it's amazing now with the internet, right? So we could pull it up in booking.com. We could get a reservation, but we could also cancel the reservation along the way. But there were certain people that before they even left the States, they knew every place they were going to be. And, if there was a place that we really, really liked, maybe that next morning we wouldn't get up and get going as quickly. And so it gave us a lot of flexibility there. And, it sounds remote, but Joe, the cell phone service along the Camino was better than it is here in West Michigan.
Wow.
So in the morning, I could check my email, check in with the team and everything. There was a lot of times at lunch, we would stop and call the grandkids as they were getting ready for school. They're 8 and 10. They never understood the time change and everything. But it was one of these things where we always thought, we could never do this. And then looking back on it, it's like, why didn't we do that? Right? The cost of it for the entire month, I think we spent $3,000 excluding airfare. Right?
Wow.
And we came back and we stayed a Hampton Inn, and I think it was $100. And I told my wife, this is the most expensive hotel we have stayed in the last month, because it was very, very affordable. Both the food, the drink, the housing. There was really, if we would have been renting out our house, we would have made money.
I would just worry that you aren't going to have anywhere to sleep. So there must have been vacancy the whole time. Did you go during an off season? What month was it?
We went in September, and
okay.
I'll be honest with you, that second night, it did almost bite me. So we were walking along and we had met some other people. We stopped for lunch. Lunch got longer and longer. And we thought, we'll just get a place here in town. Well, there was no place left in town.
Oh.
And we looked at it and thought, well, we can walk to Pamplona, which is about 8 miles away before dark. It's a huge city. There'll be plenty of spots there. And we started to walk along and just thought something will work out. And we saw this old hotel farmhouse on the side of the road. And if you remember from the way, one of the places he stopped, there was a gentleman that was like a bullfighter out in the courtyard. That was the place. So we walked in there and asked, if they had any rooms. And the gentleman said no. That was fine. We kept walking on. We were about 50 yards away, and we hear somebody, behind us calling to us. Mm-hmm. And he said, no, we've got there was a double booking. We do have a room. And we came back to this place, and I think it was built in the 1400s. It's just gorgeous. Had a beautiful dinner there, lots and lots of wine. And we got to the point where wherever anything bad happened, quote unquote bad, we would be like, oh, what's this setting us up for? Right. There was another time I dropped my hat.
What goodness? What goodness is this setting me up for? It sounds like.
Exactly. It was like there was something amazing on the other side. I dropped my hat one time in a church, and I didn't want to walk back. And Karen's like, oh, let's walk back the half mile. We did. As I put on my hat, there was a gentleman that recognized it. We walked with them the rest of the day. Nice. And Crystal Joe, it was almost like walking with my future self. Sam and Carol were a decade older than Karen and I, and just hearing about their experience, all the rest of that, it's like, that's where I want to be a decade from now.
Oh, that's beautiful. Speaking of, you were walking with people, like, what was the diversity like? Like, were there mostly Americans walking with you? Like, did you notice, like, how big were the crowds too?
So the closer you got to the end, the more crowded it was. Mm-hmm. Some people just come in for the last week. Sometimes it was young people, on college, going over there for schooling. It was a lot of people that were newly retired. So that they've always wanted to do it now that they had the time with it. There were a lot of Americans, but there was a lot from other countries. And the funny part is that language really wasn't a problem, right? There's a lot of problems in the world today, but there's no better time to be alive. You can pull out Google Translate and talk with somebody, or find someone that speaks both languages. When we'd sit down for dinner, if there's 8 people at the table, you just sit with 8 people. And I can remember one time there was a retired priest sitting next to me, and across the table, there was a gentleman, Thomas. He's a police officer from Berlin. Well, luckily the priest spoke a little bit of German, and he kept translating for us. For the next 2 weeks after that, I kept running into Thomas. He didn't speak English. I didn't speak German. But every time we saw each other, we would hug, and he'd like point to my foot, like, how's your blister doing? Oh, it's great, and we were able to communicate that way. There was one time we stopped and we had lunch together, and we were able to communicate in some way there, just through Google Translate.
Oh, that's cool.
You talked about the mountains. How mountainous was your route, Tom?
The first day is the worst on the Camino de Francés. So you're going through the Pyrenees. And just like they showed in the movie there, that's where his son dies. And that first day I was like, I wonder if I'll end up like his son. And honestly, it was not the uphill that bothered me. It was the downhill.
Oh, yeah.
Pounding on my body. And that first day I was like, oh, what did I get myself into? Right. But that was the worst day. And I think more than anything, it was my mindset of I was not enjoying the scenery, enjoying the view. There were other hills throughout the whole Camino there. But one of the things I learned is every hill is the same, right? It's got a start, it's got an end. And when you're on it, it's like the biggest hill ever. But just keep your head down, keep walking, and you'll get done with it quicker than ever. And that was like a lesson that I brought back with me. It's like every problem we have right now, it's the biggest problem ever, right? But keep your head down. It doesn't last forever.
It's so funny, Crystal, just hearing Tom talk, how much this truly is a pilgrimage. I mean, the thoughtfulness and the frugality, right? I don't need everything. It's
Right.
This hill is my big problem right now. The blister along the trail, the fact that we have trouble communicating, like it's fun. You spend so much time that you're able to get some of these beautiful life lessons.
Just the idea of being quiet and being with yourself. Right. That was amazing. Karen and I, my wife, we walked it together, and there was sometimes we'd be walking and talking. There'd be other times where I'd listen to a book or something. But a lot of times it was just walking and being with my own thoughts. And it's amazing how fast the days would go. Just sometimes, when you're busy at work and the day goes so fast, it'd be the same thing. It's like, we're 20 miles already. And then you'd look at the map and it's like, Pamplona, that was a week ago, right? Where did the time go?
What kind of map? Yeah, I was gonna say, what kind of trail? Like, was it a trail that you actually followed?
Oh, there is now technology, right? There was, there's a bunch of different apps, and one of them would actually, like with GPS, tell you where you were on the trail. And it would tell you how many miles to the next village, what support they had at the next village. It was very well marked, but I'm not always the most observant guy. So there were times where we'd get off the trail, right? And you're starting to walk on a road and you're like, I haven't seen a sign in a while. Now you pull up the app and it's like, okay, yeah, go up here and turn left and you'll get back on it. But, and the people there are so nice, right? I felt safer on the Camino. Well, I would say I felt safer in Spain and France when we flew out of there than I did at any place in the United States.
Wow.
And there were times where we'd be coming into a town in the late afternoon, and there'd be an older man who was whistling at my wife. Right. That's how we always said, oh, another guy whistling at you. And they'd usually whistle and then they'd point. It's like, no, you got to go that way.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
They all knew who we were and where we were going.
I see some of these towns, Tom, Pamplona, you mentioned, Leon, some of these just beautiful historic Spanish places. How much time did you spend in these beautiful, these downtown courtyards and piazzas and just beautiful, beautiful cities before you had to, if you're going 20 hours a day, 20 miles a day, I don't think you can linger that long.
Not long enough, right? There's a bunch of cities that I want to go back to, and Pamplona is probably one of my favorite. So we got in there probably at, I don't know, it was probably about 3:30. Because all the kids were coming out of school. They were out in the parks with their parents playing. Then we checked into the albergue, took a shower, and then we walked down to the plaza and had dinner and just saw all the people there. And it was, that was one of the best memories. There's a plaza in Pamplona, and I saw where the bulls ran. They were not running while we were there, thankfully. But there was like traditional folk music, and there was old people, young people, and they were all dancing, and they were inviting us to come along. It was one of the most family-friendly places. And like I said, I felt safer in Spain and Europe than I did in Kalamazoo.
It's so funny. And Kalamazoo is an incredibly safe place. I mean,
Yes.
just a wonderful community. Crystal, it's funny. Cheryl and I, as of a week ago, decided that in the fall of 2026, we're going to go back to Italy. And the thing I want to do when I'm in these cities that I went to last time is spend more time in these big town squares. Just to your point, Tom, it feels like all the families are out there at night and people are just having so much fun, and you could just feel the community. Even in a big city like Rome, I could feel the community. I want to get into some of I know you said you didn't plan much, but I do want to talk about the planning. Like, where do you fly into? How did you get there from Kalamazoo? Like, what was the journey there and back like? What are some of the other things that you maybe packed but didn't need to? We're going to get into all that in the second half with Tom, but at the halfway point of every show, there's the music coming up. We dive into. You and I are Gear of the Day, but I was too lazy to do Gear of the Day. You were too lazy to do Gear of the Day, so we're going to make our guest do it.
Last time it was not my turn. Don't try to turn that on me.
Okay, I'm too lazy to do Gear of the Day.
Thank you.
It's all me. The Gear of the Day we announce at the end of the show, but we have a pit stop at the halfway point where Tom is going to give us a couple clues about what the Gear of the Day that he took with him on the Camino de Santiago was. And we do a hint because often on our road trip, you're halfway there and you're like, how long till we get there? Are we there yet? So we're not there yet. We're only halfway. But Tom, what's a hint at our Gear of the Day?
It's something that I should have learned as a sailor. And now this old sailor here, he's got it in his backpack with his computer. I don't leave home without it. And it's not the American Express.
He's got something.
That's
all
not
right.
accepted everywhere either. Anyway.
We're going to guess. I don't know. It's in his bag. You should have learned it as a sailor.
I know. It's got to be a compass.
I was thinking it was a knot.
What's a knot?
Oh, you're a sailor, a sailing knot? No? Crystal's like, I'm afraid not. Yeah. It wouldn't be a knot.
Desert,
it could be a compass.
In the desert, I learned moss grows. Now I don't remember.
On the north side of the tree.
On the north. There we go. Phew. Yeah.
It's so fun. You were bragging on social media this weekend that you knew that, like, had that internalized.
I said I'd learned.
And now, look at this. It's a day later. You've been home for 24 hours.
And I did remember. I was like, I had the 50-50 chance
of
it being north or south. So now I know.
All right. Is it compass? I think a compass is a good one. I think we'll go with a compass, Tom. But we're going to think about it, and we'll be right back. Crystal? Tom said that he has it in his backpack. He took it with him on the Camino, and he should never be without it. I think a compass is a good one.
Yeah, I think not is a bad one. Just wanted to come back and say that.
You're afraid not.
I'm afraid not.
All right, we're going to find
Glad
out
you
if
have me.
Our answer is a compass here soon. But let's dive in. I'm looking at Tom. I'm looking at your route, and you started just over the border in France. My daughter actually lived very close to where the Camino picks up in France. I think it actually goes all the way through France if you want to go like way, way long. I remember when I was in Germany, you could see like this thing that looked, people in Germany told us it was leading to the Camino if you really wanted to spend all summer doing it. But my daughter was in Britches, which is not far from where you were starting. Where do you fly into if you're going to start this traditional Camino path that you were on?
One of the things they always say is, where did you start your Camino? And that's wherever you is home. So for us, we flew out of Kalamazoo and then had a direct flight from Detroit to Paris. Why? Because we could get it with points, and it's really not that expensive if you plan ahead. And then it was just a number of trains, right? So a couple of trains around Metro Paris, and anybody that says French people are rude, I didn't meet any. They were so helpful. They'd point to the next train. And then we took a train down to Bordeaux and right on the coast. And then from Bordeaux up into the mountains. So it was a few different trains. It took us the better part of a day. We landed mid-morning in Paris, and by that evening, we were there at Saint Jean, which is the start of it. And we also wanted to add some time at the end. My wife's grandfather was buried at Normandy, or is buried at Normandy. So we wanted to spend some time there also. So that's the reason that we flew in and out of there. Other people will do it out of Madrid, Barcelona. And like you said, there are Caminos everywhere. So if you want to start in Germany and add a little bit of mileage on it, Joe, you can do that part.
A little bit of mileage. If you want to triple the time, it's by 3 months versus a month to do it. The points, let's talk about the points, because did you use a special credit card? Is it because you're Tom Schwab and you fly all the time, so you've just accumulated lots of flights because of all the podcasting conferences you go to? And
I didn't get it on good looks, so it was all through Amex points. It was from frequent flyer miles, all the rest of that. It's one of those things where it's amazing, right? The business expenses that you can put through and still get benefits from that on there. So that's how we did the points.
Delta? Was it Delta?
Delta, yes.
Yeah. And did you spring for the business class? Because that overseas trip and, spending all night in a plane in economy, Crystal loves it. I will pass.
We did the business, and then we got upgraded to whatever the next one is.
Oh, what a
beyond
flex.
there. So that was so nice.
He got upgraded.
You
That's
also
tough.
mentioned like when you were along the route using booking.com to look up like places to stay. Is that also what you like mostly stuck with, or it was a combo of we'll just see what they have in the next town?
It was probably 50-50. Okay. If we went into a big town, like Burgos, Leon, Pamplona, you could always find places there. Mm-hmm. But some of the smaller towns, there might only be one albergue. And the thing was, if we got there and they were full, okay, the next one is, another mile and a half. It wasn't the end of the world. But yeah, in Europe, booking.com was very popular. The other thing that I'm glad I didn't forget is I use Amex for everything, right? Mm-hmm. Just so I can get the points. That's not really big in Europe. I'd pull out my American Express and they'd look at me like I had a third eye. They took Visa, MasterCard, or cash.
Interesting.
Did you pack cash ahead of time, Tom?
I did. I didn't need to, right? There was ATMs everywhere, right? And it was so easy just to go to an ATM, put the code in and stuff like that, and get the cash for, a few days.
I'm thinking about gear. I know that you don't have your walking shoes in your backpack, so I'm sure this isn't your gear of the day. But how much time did you spend on things like shoes, hiking pants, the having the right maybe layering so that you were able to feel comfortable along the way?
Hokas are my addiction.
Really?
Right? Yes. Hokas, my feet feel so good in those. And I burned out a pair of Hokas in a month, 500 miles there. But I had already had a pair that were just like it. I knew that they didn't bother me too much. So had a pair of Hokas. I only took one pair of shoes with me on the entire trip. Everything we had was in our backpacks. Had 2 pairs of pants, right? Crystal, you said 2 pairs for 5 days.
Yeah.
I had 2 pairs for
a month.
For a month, but we were washing them every night, right?
Yeah.
And went to REI, and they're still one of my favorite pairs of pants, right? Couple of like shirts, long sleeve, because we knew it was going to be a little bit colder there, and then one, I would call it more of a dress shirt that I could put over for when we went out that night. And like I said, I had too much stuff. 2 pairs of pants, 2 shirts, 2 pairs of socks. That would have gotten me through.
Wow. And your pack would have been what? Half as full as it was?
Probably. But that's also a good thing, right? When you say we figured out it cost us less than $100 a day for both of us. And somebody asked, well, does that include souvenirs? Well,
Yeah.
when you have to carry everything,
Oh,
you admire the stuff. You might take a picture of it. You don't buy it. And it's like, yeah, I don't think I want to carry that for 300 miles.
I guess that's good motivation because I'm a tchotchkes souvenirs girl, and I don't know that I would resist not picking up something from every single town.
Crystal's pack weighs 150 pounds by the end. 6 pairs of shoes tied to the pack in the back.
Man, I admire your strength to not pick up tchotchkes.
What'd you do when it rained?
Put on a poncho and got wet, right? It was one of those things where the great thing is once you get wet, you can't get any wetter. And once again, the Camino provides the one time that all day long it rained. We got to a albergue and they had the radiators on. And most of the time we were there in September, they don't turn them on until like mid-October. But they were on, they were warm. We could put all of our gear out there. And the next morning it was dry and warm. But, you know, it's like, there's so many things we look outside now and go, oh, you know, it's a little bit cold, or it's a little bit windy, or it's drizzling. I'm not going out there. It was just like, okay, you just go out in it. Right. And there was a lot of people that had full rain suits and all the things with that. I guess if it was colder, we probably would have done that. But just had the ponchos and the raincoats, and that was enough.
I have to imagine that you get to the church that last day. Tell us about the last day when you're finally arriving at the cathedral, because I have to think that after over 3 weeks on the trail, Tom, like this has got to be an emotional day.
It is. It's sort of a letdown. I would say it's almost, Karen and I met while training for running a marathon.
Cool.
And it was similar to that, right? You know, the end is coming. You walk down this, you know, through the town, and you can see it off in the distance. There's a hill that overlooks Santiago de Compostela, called the Hill of Hope. And you can look out there and you can see the steeple from the cathedral, right? And you're walking along and it seems like it's taking forever. You're walking through town. And then all of a sudden you come down through this tunnel and you turn and it's like, hey, there it is, right? And it was almost surreal. We both cried and took pictures there and everything like that. But that wasn't our favorite church throughout the entire way. To me, it was much more touching to stop by a little one that had been there. And, you know, there was a little old lady sitting in there, you know, giving you a card in English, explaining it. There was one that we went to that they invited us up to go up to the bell tower. And it was not ADA compliant, right? Talk about a narrow staircase, no handrail, but you got up there and they invited us to ring the bell. It's like,
wow,
I've never rung a church bell before. And to think that thing had been there for probably 400 years, I'm scratching my head and going, how did you get this up here without a crane? Right. And to hit it and then just feel your whole body shake from the sound that was coming off of it. And then long after you thought it had stopped, you could still hear it a little bit or put your fingers on it and still hear it. And so those were the magical times along the way. I think it maybe like life, right? It's not all about the finish line. It's enjoying the different things that come up along the way that you hadn't planned, that aren't in the tour guide. Just the people that you would meet, those kind of things.
Uh-huh.
It's funny. We look at places like Alexandria where Crystal lives and we think, man, when I go to Alexandria, Crystal, I'm like, oh, you're around so much old stuff. And Tom's talking about 400 years old, and that's not anywhere near one of the oldest things there. And everybody in Spain would be like, oh, how cute. 200 years. That's neat.
It's so young, a baby.
Just absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
When you mentioned that you train, that you walked ahead of time. If somebody is hearing us right now and they're like, I think I want to do this, how much walking should I do? How long do you think I should train for before I'm maybe ready to hit the road?
Well, somebody asked me how long I've been training for this. And my
I've been
answer
training
was
my whole life.
58 years, right? That first year I didn't walk. After that, I've been training for it. And so the oldest person to do the Camino, the French route, I want to say is like mid-90s. So it's one of these things where you don't have to do it in 26 days, right? If you can just walk a little bit, right? It's going to take you more time there. I would say get used to having a pack on your back, right? Because it is different. Be used to shoes. Find out which shoes you like and which ones you don't. And that's one of those things where you can't just look online and say, well, this is the one they say to get. Right. No, everybody doesn't have the same feet. That sort of thing. And sometimes it's just the idea of putting on your pack, taking off your pack. What do you really need? In the Navy, we used to call it fast cruises, and they seem like the stupidest things, right? Before we'd go out on cruise, we would pull up the gangway and we would play like we were at sea, right? And you could figure out really quickly, to prepare for it. So Karen and I did some different hikes, right? There was one morning we got up first thing in the morning and, we walked to breakfast and we carried our packs with us. We tried living out of our packs for a day, right? Oh. What did we forget? And so little things like that. And the other thing is that it's Europe, right? It's not a third world country, right? I sometimes think that, the rest of the world isn't as developed. Whatever you need, you can get there. People might have it in their packs and they can share it with you, or you can go by, the pharmacia and get it there.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I'm also wondering, you talked about language barrier earlier and Thomas and the retired priest, and what a great story. But how much Spanish did you know? You're laughing. You didn't know any Spanish.
I took 4 years of Spanish in high school, and it was useless, right? I'd forgotten all of it.
Funny.
I never had to conjugate a verb while I was out there. Even Karen did better than I did, where, she downloaded the Babbel app the year before and was going to work on this. I really didn't do that much. And Karen tells the story. We were walking in Pamplona and we were on the wrong side of this river. And this little Spanish lady came running up to me talking a mile a minute. And I got the idea that you're on the wrong side of the river. And she told me iglesia, and I'm like, that's church, okay? And then she points, like, go up the stairs, and she makes the stairs with her finger. And we talked there for a little bit. And Karen's like, I thought you guys, if we were going to be there for a few more minutes, we're going to start pulling out your phones and showing pictures of your grandkids. Right? You can communicate. Cute. And my goal of going there was to speak as good as a 5-year-old, right? They can't always conjugate verbs. They don't get it right, but they're cute and you want to help them. And so from that standpoint, people are helpful. Right. I've
known you for a long time, Tom. You speak almost as good as a 5-year-old in English.
This is true.
Almost.
Aww. Getting close. That's awesome. Any big surprise that you remember? Surprising story, fun story that we haven't talked about?
Just how much people have in common, right? We've got more in common than we've got different. Right. And there's those common things there. And that you can always find something that you have in common with some person. And I think too often we watch the news and the world is a scary place. Right. And then you get out there and there's more good people than bad people. Like one night when we were coming back, we were changing trains in Madrid, and I messed up the planning, right? I didn't realize that the one train got in at 11 and then it was a different train station and it didn't open till 5. So we were there for like 4 hours, just sitting outside. There were some homeless people that brought us some cardboard, just nice people there. And I think it reminded me that, that the world is a good place with good people, and that, and that we're all in it together.
Anything else, Crystal, you can think of that our adventurers are screaming at their device they want us to ask Tom?
Well, I wanted to know what was the best thing you ate where you were like, oh, this is amazing.
There's this Spanish thing called tostada. And I love it for breakfast. And we saw
I thought you were
going
to say toast. There's a Spanish thing called toast.
Toast bread, man.
That is what tostada translates as. Toast, right? But it was like fresh made bread, and then it was toasted. And Joe, they don't put jelly and butter on it. It was like fresh olive oil and this tomato paste that was just phenomenal. And it was like, every morning for breakfast, I'd have an Americano and tostada. And even we came home here, and that's how I started to have bread, right? A little bit of olive oil on it. We've got some tomatoes that we put in the food processor, and it just takes me back there. So it's not fancy, but I can make the recipe.
If only, good. Crystal, there was a man who could help people learn how to do interviews well, show them also show them great shows to go on and help them get the message out. Tom, I wish a place like that existed.
Well, you said a man, right? No, it's the team behind me.
Well, that's true. I also have known you long enough to know that without a great team, Tom is nothing.
I left for 4 weeks, and I had to come back because I'm like, they're going to replace me. I just know it. My team is great, right? My microphone makes me sound good. My team at Interview Valet makes me look good, and that's our whole thing is how can we introduce inspiring people to millions of people they could serve for the betterment of all, and that's what we do and what we've been doing for a decade now.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
People go to interviewvalet.com, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Or write me, my friend, my co-author, Crystal. Crystal, jeez almighty. My co-author, Crystal. My co-host, Crystal. My co-author, Emily, who Crystal knows.
Yes.
Emily, big fan of Interview Valet, and went on a lot of fantastic interviews that she wouldn't have gotten by herself if it wasn't for Tom's amazing team. All right, time for our Gear of the Week.
The reveal.
Yeah, Tom, you gave us the clue that it's in your backpack right now. You took it on the Camino. Now you can't think about being without it. We said it must be a compass.
Don't say we said. Go ahead and say what you said and what the smarty pants Crystal said.
I said it had to be afraid not. So you could say afraid not. And smarty pants Crystal, who's way smarter than me, said it has to be a compass. So, Tom, what is our Gear of the Week?
It's something that everyone should have in their pack. It's called salty britches. Right? And everybody's like Googling this right now.
What?
Oh, it is amazing. It's this like thick jelly paste. Think of Vaseline, but 10 times as thick. If you have a rub, right, on your shoe, on your foot, anything like that, put a little salty britches on it. If it's raining or you're in Arizona and it gets a little bit moist and you start to get chafing someplace, you just take a little bit of salty britches there, you rub it on there, right? If you've got a new piece of gear and it's just rubbing you the wrong way, right? That beautiful new shirt and the collar is just rubbing you a little bit of salty britches will make all the difference in the world. You can get in these little packs, and I've got one of the little packs in my computer bag there. I don't leave home without it.
He should work for the company. That sounded like a professional ad, Tom. Holy cow. This episode is brought to you by Salty Britches.
This is not a joke.
It's awesome. Britches. We have I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years, Crystal.
Never. Yeah. I'm speechless. Yeah, that was not on my bingo card. Salty britches.
It's always good when you can make Crystal speechless, Tom, because Crystal talks the entire time. I don't get a word in.
Everybody is yelling. Now you're making everyone yell at their they're listening to Pisces.
All right, that's going to do it for today. If you have stories about the Camino of your own, we want to hear those. Please. In about a month. We're going to do your episode where you tell us your story. So, Crystal, what's the URL for that?
That is stackingadventures.com/mystory. And maybe we can have Tom back on to listen to the stories with us.
Oh, that would be fun if he could do it.
I know,
that'd be
awesome.
awesome.
You're busy.
We
Yeah,
also
that's
have
always fun.
stories. We need your stories for Thailand as well. We had Crystal's adventure to Thailand last week, so we will need those coming up. Tom, thank you so much for hanging out with us and sharing your adventure story.
Yes.
Thank you. I love reliving it, and hope we can talk one time when you get back from the Camino, and you can share what you learned there.
Pleasure meeting you, Tom. Thank you.
So awesome. All right, adventurers, you know the mission. Let's go out and have another adventure today. We'll see you next time. Stacking Adventures. She is Crystal.
And I'm Joe. He's Joe.
I forgot. I did it the wrong way. I did it the right way, okay, the wrong way. We'll see you next time.